Some other big wrestling news took place over the last day or two. And it wouldn't be the first time we've had a story like this, would it? Joey Styles, remember him? Original ECW commentator, Raw commentator in the mid-2000s. Former WWE employee, found himself fired again for some controversial remarks. You know, there's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Joey Styles' mouth is fooling him quite a lot. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to call on my assistant, but I will say that if there's one thing to be learned...
Stupid!
Ryback, we got to get you under control, man. You are rogue. You are uncontrollable. I need to put a leash on the big guy. I wasn't going as far as to say that that's what he was. I was just saying that...
Stupid!
Fine. Have it your way. Joey Styles got himself fired from Evolve Wrestling after he made a rather classless joke referencing the recent political election. Now, I want to make it clear, my intention with this segment is not to talk about the election or politics in general. What I am going to say, though, may seem that way because I have to make a point to bring up why this firing happened and why I think it's valid. But I'm not shaming anyone of their politics or whatever. I'm not doing that right now. Let's just talk about Joey Styles. And whatever may come up is whatever may come up, but it's not intended to be political, all right? Let's get that out of the air, out of the water, out of the way. What's the expression? I don't know. I hate cliches. During the show, the Evolve pay-per-view, Joey Styles turned to the ring announcer named Joanna Rose and said, quote, "Joanna, you look great. If our next president were here, he'd want to grab you by the..." And it got cut off. But obviously, the reference is known, right? In case somehow you don't know what I'm talking about, President-elect Donald Trump had a tape come out in September which showed him talking on a bus with some of his friends or associates or coworkers, whatever. And he made the expression that was the gist of it was, when you're famous, you can do whatever you want to them, being women, and they let you. You can grab them by the pussy and they don't care. That's clearly what Joey Styles was talking about. Clearly. Joey Styles got himself fired. Again. Now, at this point, you're having one of two reactions. The first is, well, yeah. And the second is, wait, why did he get fired over that? Don't we have freedom of speech in this country? And hey, Swerve, didn't you defend Colin Kaepernick for kneeling during the anthem twice? Yeah, I did. And we're going to get into what makes these things different right now. The main thing is, Gabe Sapolsky, the guy running Evolve, gave an order very specifically not to get political. He tweeted, quote, "Evolve is meant to be a fun escape from the world, not a basis of political debate. There was a mandate not to get political last night." He followed up in reference to Jim Cornette saying, "Jim, if you specifically instructed someone not to do something like that on a show and they did it, you would have gone after them with a bat." So Joey Styles got himself fired. And I mentioned that this isn't the first time this has happened because there were conflicting reports about why he got fired from WWE in August. Some saying he took shots at Vince McMahon, that he took shots at the Universal Championship, and some other things during a shoot interview while still employed with the company. Yes, in the United States, we have freedom of speech, and yes, I will defend freedom of speech until my death. As I said, defending Colin Kaepernick, you don't know what freedoms you have until you try to use them, and you don't have them anymore. I'm not denouncing Joey Styles for saying this, even though I do think it's personally despicable, and you do have a responsibility that comes with freedom of speech, which is to deal with the consequences of what you say. Which is something that the people who exclaim freedom of speech often forget, is that these are not in a vacuum and there are consequences to the things that you say. This is a situation where he was specifically told by his boss not to say something, and he said it anyway. He said, "Don't get political." And Joey Styles made a political reference. That's clearly a reference to Donald Trump. There's no way around it. That's what it is. So he was fired. Now, first of all, why would you say that to someone? Why would you say that? I don't think he was in character, obviously, or he wouldn't have gotten fired. But why would you say that to someone? That's just really, I mean, would you turn to your boss if she was a woman and say that? Would you say that to a coworker? Maybe you would. I don't know you. So the meat here is, why would Joey Styles get fired over something like this, other than violating an order? The people who are defending Joey Styles are saying basically exactly what I just said. Well, it's freedom of speech. You can't fire someone for speaking freely. That's oppression. Again, he was told not to say something. This is not a firing about freedom of speech. This is a firing about breaking policy. That's the major difference between this thing and Colin Kaepernick's thing. The 49ers organization said they would not stop him from doing it. And he's now starting for them. The 49ers organization effectively okayed it. And I also want to state for the record, again, that Colin Kaepernick was doing this long before anybody took notice. The only reason it blew up into a big thing is that the media took notice of it. Joey Styles was told not to do this. He was not given an okay. In fact, he was given a do not. And he did it anyway. That's what makes this different. This is not a situation of free speech. If Joey Styles was in an interview and he said that, that's one thing. But when you're specifically on the job and you're told not to do something, you can't do it. I mean, I don't know how to explain this any clearer, guys. It's really that simple. If you're told not to do something, you can't do it. You can't get mad that you got fired. You can't get frustrated that you didn't get your way. You specifically were told not to do something. What do you think? Do you guys think Joey Styles deserved to get fired? Do you think Gabe Sapolsky and Evolve overreacted? I don't. I think he deserved to get fired for that. And I want to just talk real quickly about what makes a quote like that tumultuous, okay? The thing that worries people so much about a quote like that is the implication that the rich and powerful and successful can do whatever they want, because the fear of that happening and you attempting ramifications will end in your harm, be that emotionally, physically, whatever. Your reputation being damaged, however it happens. When Donald Trump said that, the backlash was because a lot of people felt like the context was, I'm rich and famous, so I can do whatever I want, and no one will try to stop me, because if they do, well, I'm rich. I'll buy my way out of it. I'm powerful. I'll have them suppressed, maybe even hurt. And I've heard people defending that quote, saying, well, he's talking about consensuality. They let you do it. Yeah, you can interpret it that way if you are at a third grade reading level. There's only one way to interpret that. And if you disagree, I'm sorry. But that is clearly talk about guys talking about, I can do whatever I want to women and they won't stop me. That's the context. I'm not trying to make some statement about rape culture, or again, I'm not speaking politically. All I'm saying is that's what that quote was about. 100% that quote, the context of it is, I can do whatever I want because I'm rich and powerful and no one will try to stop me, which is a form of non-consent. It's the same reason why you can't intimidate jurors into a verdict, because it's a conflict. It's a problem. So when Joey Styles says something like that on a national broadcast, which, by the way, that's the future of wrestling. So all of these companies are getting into this live broadcasting stuff, this internet stream service, right? When he says something like that, all of a sudden we have a situation where wrestling is set back a bunch of years because all the accomplishments of women wrestlers, all of the achievements of them are reduced right down to their bodies once again. Everything about that is a joke. I mean, why would you say that to someone? You're just reducing them to their physical appearance once again. Haven't we had enough of this? Can't we, even if you're going to say, man, do you look nice tonight? There's a classy way to say it. Joanna, you are, as always, stunningly beautiful, and it is great to be here by your side in the presence of such grace. Maybe that's cheesy, maybe that's corny, but that's a lot better than our future president would grab you by the pussy, that's for sure. Our future president would sexually assault you. That's how attractive you are, that you could be sexually assaulted by the president. Disgusting, isn't it? No wonder he got himself fired. No wonder Gabe Sapolsky's furious. Because when you have a person who is the voice of your brand, even if it's temporary, and they say something like that, if you don't act on it, the public verdict will be that your company supports sexual assault. What company survives under that? What company survives under the premise that people think they endorse sexual assault? I'm not going to tell you it's a whole lot because I don't really have a nice list of them. What I am going to say is that I think Gabe Sapolsky was in the right. I think Joey Styles was in the very wrong. And I would also take the over if we were betting that this is not the last time Joey Styles' mouth is going to get him into trouble.